So at the start of film, we are shown a girl, Patricia. In a semi-terrified state, she comes to see a psychiatrist. Her words, her frightened posture, and her demeanor clearly indicate that she's insane. But she says, "I'm not insane. I'm in a very serious predicament. A Kurt has tried to control me. He's taken my eyes, nose, and ears, and through them, he can hear, feel, and see everything around me. And soon, he's going to take over my body as well. He's preparing my body to transfer someone else's soul or entity into my body." The doctor listens to her, but he thinks it's nothing more than a delusion. The scene cuts to another girl named Susie. She's come to Berlin to join a dance academy. But no one at the academy is willing to audition her because she hasn't learned dance before. After much persuasion, the dance teachers agree to watch her dance. And when she gives an amazing performance, everyone is stunned. Even the girls who had spent 20 years learning dance hadn't given such a performance. Miss Blink, a world-famous and renowned dancer, was also present at the time. She was amazed and delighted to see Susie. Thanks to her talent, Susie immediately receives admission to the dance academy. Even better, she didn't need to look for a hostel anywhere else because her dancing was so good. She was now eligible for a merit-based accommodation at the academy. Susie becomes even happier. She is led to a room where another woman's belongings are already arranged, as if she were still living there or had suddenly disappeared. As the academy teachers converse, we learn that the girl we saw at the clinic, Patricia, actually lived in that room and had been missing for the past 2 days, which had everyone worried. It's through their conversation that we learn, in a shocking twist, that this dance academy isn't actually a dance academy, but a cult. All the ladies sitting there were discussing a ritual they were going to perform on Patricia. However, Patricia had failed their ritual, so they needed a new member. This means that everything Patricia was telling the doctor at the clinic was true. Susie was completely unaware of all this. The next day, she begins practicing her dance with Miss Blink and breaks down in tears because her friend Patricia has disappeared. Hearing her words, Susie also begins to feel frightened because as she left, she had said that all these women aren't dance teachers. They're witches. Miss Ling warns Susie not to pay attention to her words and has her assistant remove her from the dancing ball. Then she approaches Susie, grabs both her hands, and shakes them in a strange way, as if she's placing something in her hand with her ring. Then she asks Susie to dance. Susie dances very well, but Susie didn't know that as she danced, someone else was being hurt by her dance. The very girl who was about to expose Miss Blink and all the women here. Miss Blink had attached Susie's soul to her through her dance. Now, as Susie moves, the girl's body begins to contort. And when Susie's dance ends, we see the girl's body strangely contorted. All her bones were broken. Her body was folded together, and she had died on the spot. This confirms that Miss Blink and her companions are indeed witches. The next moment, some witches arrive and read something over the girl, causing her to breathe strangely, as if she's come back to life. Instead of holding her by the hands, the witches grab her with a strange hook and drag her to their secret cabin. After everything that had happened, Susie, too, had been having strange, terrifying dreams. She realized that the girl was definitely telling the truth, and she decides to find out what's going on here. She befriends one of the local girls and continues her investigation. She begins. Meanwhile, we are shown a psychiatrist who was left with Patricia's diary. When he reads the diary, it contains the names of all the witches working at the dance academy, how the witches worked, and who were their helpers. It also mentions that these witches have 3 wives who, being the most powerful witches in the world, are still alive today. The doctor, somewhat convinced that Patricia was telling the truth, informs the police about all this and the dance academy. Thanks to this report, when some police officers enter the dance academy, they are unable to harm the witches. Instead, they are harassed by the witches. Soji and his friends, who had come to the office looking for clues, hide in the cabinet and observe all this, and they are amused. But here, Susie also realizes the truth. They are all witches. Well, the next morning comes, and everyone dances as per the routine. Missing was responsible for teaching Susie the dance. And while Susie is dancing, she feels as if someone is feeling her from beneath the floor, trying to pull her down. We are shown that there really was someone beneath the floor, a terrifying entity with very old-looking hands. We learn that this person is also the most powerful an old witch named Markos, and to give new life to her old body, all these witches have planned to place Markos' soul into a girl's body. They had also started performing the same ritual on Patricia, but Patricia escaped and told the doctor everything. And now, in connection with this ritual, they have targeted Susie. A crisis erupts, and we learn that Susie's stay here becomes increasingly difficult with each passing day. She begins having strange, frightening dreams and visions, and we learn that Miss Blanc is the one who's sending her these visions. Miss Blanc is a good witch. She doesn't want Susie to be a part of any of their rituals and risk her life. That's why she simply wants to scare Susie away. One day, she becomes so terrified by all the visions that she wakes up screaming, only to be rescued by her friend. The scene then cuts to police officers. When they return to the police station the next day, they question them about the dance academy. But they have forgotten everything that happened there. They don't even remember if they even went there. We clearly know that the witches orchestrated all this to prevent anyone from finding out their secret. We then revisit the academy scene. Today, Susie was extremely upset because she had discovered the truth about the academy, so she couldn't dance well. Miss Pledging, who had mistaken her for her daughter, is distraught by this. The girl who was dancing well now uses her magic to transfer her entire performance to Susie. This causes the previous girl she was dancing with to faint. Meanwhile, with the help of psychiatrist Dr. Patricia's book, they conduct extensive research on the Vigises. They learn about their history and then convince a girl from the academy to meet with them, as they too want to know the secret of the academy and save all the girls there. The girl the doctor met was named Sarah. They first explain everything to Sarah, but Sarah doesn't believe them. Sarah's kidney returns, In the academy, we see all the Vigises sitting together, discussing how their decision to make Patricia a vessel was wrong. This meant that Patricia wasn't right for their ritual, a ritual that would transfer the soul of their eldest witch into Patricia's body. During their conversation, we see a witch appear and take her own life by slitting her throat. The reason for this isn't explained. Meanwhile, Sarah, who had come to hear the doctor's words, decides to see if the doctor's words are true. So she begins investigating the academy and finds a door hidden behind a mirror in her dance practice room. Opening it, she finds a staircase leading to the basement. As she descends, she hears the voices of all the witches performing their rituals, which leads to the sound of the witches performing their rituals. She was terrified, but now, convinced that the doctor was telling the truth, she quietly came downstairs and began exploring the entire place. She found many items related to witches' magic, and she quietly grabbed a hook and tried to escape. Sarah had spent the night in extreme fear. The next morning, she met the doctor and told him what he was saying was absolutely true. They are witches. But what do they want from us? The doctor began to answer her question, explaining that this story of witches wasn't just today, but centuries old. It was in the 11th century when 3 sisters learned black magic, and using their magical powers, traveled the world, amassing immense wealth. Their black powers were so dangerous that people died wherever they went, and all this only increased their power. These 3 sisters lived for centuries, and it's believed they still exist in some form or another. They're called the Witches of the Witches, meaning mothers of witches, and no one knows where they are today. However, now that I've researched Patricia's diary after hearing her words, I've learned that Markos needed Patricia's body, and I believe she is the mother of Sty, the most powerful and intelligent witch. The doctor also tells her a shocking revelation. All the witches agreed to perform this ritual because they consider Markos their mother. But there's one good witch among them, Miss Blanc. She doesn't want any innocent children to die, and many of the witches at the academy support her. After hearing all this, Sarah returns to the academy and resumes her normal routine. After practicing, the day finally arrives when they have to perform their dance in front of the world. If they were doing so much under the guise of the academy, they had to show something at the academy. Sarah, Susie, and all their partners get busy with their preparations, and Sarah, seeing the opportunity, disappears. She goes to the same place she went before. She wanted to cry to her partner Patricia, and Patricia finds her. But now she's as if she's aged a lot, and the sight of her makes poor Sarah cry. Before Sarah can do anything, she feels as if a creature is coming after her. When she tries to escape, she falls badly. Her leg breaks so badly that the bone protrudes from her skin, and she faints from the moment of death. Hearing all this commotion, Vigiges arrives and hypnotizes Sarah, healing her with her magic, and then erases all this from her mind. They forget about it, and Sarah comes out and begins her performance with everyone else. While performing this dance, Sarah's face was completely expressionless. It was clear that she was dancing to someone's command, posing. This is why her eyes had turned green. Susie's eyes had also changed color. This dance was so strange that it seemed more like a ritual than a dance performance. As Sarah performs a heavy dance step, her broken ankle breaks again, ruining everyone's dance performance. All the wizards are terrified, as if they had just missed a major goal. Night falls, and it is shown that Miss Blink comes to meet Susie. They don't speak, but communicate through telepathy, their minds. Miss Blink tells Susie everything. You've been brought here for a purpose. Susie also tells her, I know almost the entire purpose. Splink, concerned as if she were a child, says, I don't want you to be a part of that dark ritual, and I will do everything I can to save you. After saying all this, Miss Sling leaves Miss Sling's place, while on the other side, we are shown the doctor on the road. Suddenly, his wife appears before the doctor, and this is very strange because the doctor's wife had died a long time ago. The doctor sees his wife and follows her to this academy, and we learn that this is the arrival of his wife's wife and her meeting with him. The witch's magic was used to bring them to the academy. In fact, the witches need a witness while performing their rituals, and they chose the doctor as a witness because he was very old and was about to die. Even if he had lived a little longer and tried to tell someone the truth, no one would have believed him, as people believe that those who grow old are mentally unstable. The scene cuts to the scene, and we are finally shown the ritual platform. Here, Markos, the mother of S, looked very strange. She had no eyes. Large lenses had been installed in place of her eyes. Like a camera lens, her body looked so old and so bad that it seemed as if she were not human, but some other creature. All the other witches were also naked here. All the other girls began dancing. We then saw Patricia, her companion, Sarah, and another girl. During this ritual, she is slashed straight through the abdomen, and blood begins to flow from her body. Despite all this, she doesn't move even slightly. It turns out that the entire ritual is being performed on Susie, and Markos' soul is to be placed inside her. However, Miss Blink doesn't want this to happen. She repeatedly asks Susie if she's ready, and she repeatedly replies yes, as if she already knows about it. Miss Blink tells her that if she's not ready, the ritual can be stopped. Hearing all this from Miss Blink, Markos becomes enraged. He picks up a knife and attacks Miss Blink from behind, severing her head almost in half. He then approaches Susie and tells her to close her eyes and remember him.